Hey guys, Pelican Pants here. So you've all wanted me to do a bit of a video up on what I am doing with my chili plants at the moment. You all saw the difference in 1 week photos I did up just recently, and would like to know what I'm actually doing. So at the moment I'm growing soilless. You can see at the moment there's no soil in here whatsoever. All that is perlite, a coarse perlite. You can get a 100 litre bag for $40.
Australian.
Yep, Australian perlite, 100 litres, $40. Okay, and it's coarse. So there's no nutrients at all in perlite. It's a volcanic rock which has been puffed up like rice bubbles. In fact, it's really, really light, and so much like rice bubbles, it puffs up and it'll just break down in between your fingers into dust if you squeeze it. So it's porous, it will hold water. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to leave my plants a week without watering. They will die out. There's not that much water holding capacity, but I'm out here watering them every day, feeding them every day because there's no nutrients in it. Now, what actually had me go down that route is I went to my local hydroponic shop to have a bit of a chat, because you see people on the Chilli marketplace and Chilli Matadors and a few other pages, they're using Riziger nutrients, and they've been getting some pretty incredible results even though they're in soil. The Riziger nutrients are hydroponic nutrients, and that kind of blew my mind a little bit. They're using hydroponic nutrients in soil. So basically the plants are still a soil-based plant. They're still getting nutrients from the soil, but they're getting explosive growth because they have all these extra nutrients from the Riziger instantly for them to take up. They don't have to work to get it. So I went and had a bit of a chat to my local guy because Riziger isn't available where I live. Had a chat. Turns out he used to sell Riziger. He got the shits with trying to sell that product. He apparently had a few issues with it, and he got rid of it. So he put me onto this stuff here called Green Planet Nutrients. Apparently, the way he put it, there's a few ways I could go to avoid this whole Riziger problem. The top of the line stuff he can get, and anyone can really get apparently, is Canna. But Canna is actually really expensive. For a 2-part grow food, it's over $60. For their version of root boosters and things like that, it was over $100 for a litre. The next step down from Canna was Green Planet. It's an Australian-made product. Australian-made, but it's a British Columbia, Canada-owned business, and at least they're making it in Australia, I suppose. But head office is over in Canada, where they're close to medicinal cannabis crops. It is directly aimed at cannabis growers, but I'm using it on chilies. So this is just down from Canna, and below it again is your Riziger, and below Riziger there's another couple of brands, but I didn't worry about going that. So what I'm using is a 3-part system. Okay, so you blend different amounts of these 3 chemicals to achieve what you're trying to feed at that point in the plant's growth stage. So it's your grow, your bloom, and your micro, and you can see down here the varying NPK values of those chemicals. and you blend them together to get what you're after. Now, there also is another thing here, so you can see on the grow, the bloom, every week you're increasing it. But there's also this other product here called Vita Thrive. The Vita Thrive is that product there, and that is their root booster. It's got rooting hormones and a few other things in there, and it sends your roots like crazy. I saw the value in buying that. I didn't have to use this range of products. I didn't have to buy that, but I chose to. I wanted really big root systems really quick. And so far, these things are growing like crazy, as you saw. So I'm really happy with how this is going so far. Now, the reason why I didn't stick to soil is because I kind of figured, well, if this is nutritionally complete for the plants and they grow like they're on steroids and all the rest, why bother buying potting mix and with all its own fertilizers in there and all the rest? So I decided I'd give it a go growing without any soil. So I give them a feed a couple of times a day, and this is what I'm into. Now, Lolly was interested in what the double cups were for. So you can see in the bottom of this, I've got some little slits cut all around that pot. This one has a pebble in the bottom to separate the two cups that little bit, and this acts as a little reservoir holding some of the nutrients in there, so there's always a little bit there. When the roots come out the bottom, they'll be able to feed directly into that little pool. As you can see with this mystery plant, it's starting to get my little roots. Those roots have doubled overnight, actually. That's pretty crazy.
I can't really focus on it. I keep focusing on you.
Okay. Does this kind of help?
Oh, actually, yes. There we go.
Okay, so we got some roots sticking out the bottom. Now that they have direct access to a steady supply of nutrients, they're sucking it up really quickly. And this plant should go like apeshit very soon. I would expect anyway. So when it comes time to pop these guys up into bigger pots yet again, I'm actually going to go to a hydroponic store and do what they call Dutch bucketing. It's just like this, but on a bigger scale. It's got a net pot inside a bigger reservoir, and then it'll all discharge into a main line, and I can collect that and either use it on other plants around my yard, or I can then recirculate it and put it back at the start of the system to feed the plants over again. But yeah, now, a few guys were interested because I said that my plants are starting to bud and I might be topping my plants soon. So, the idea with that, if you can come closer, Shari, is down in here I can see that my plant wants to start throwing out some little buds. So I want to chop the buds out so the plant still concentrates on growth for now. But you can see that this is rather leggy. There's not many side branches coming out or anything like that. It's focusing all its energy on growing upwards. And because I want a nice, impressive plant that'll bush right up, I'm going to take the top of this plant, I'm going to cut it out so I can focus on throwing out more side shoots, and hopefully I'll get much bigger yields rather than this plant growing up so high before finally starting to make a bit of a canopy up top. So if I would just make it a big bush, there's going to be more pods. That's my reasoning. I haven't done it before. In the past, I've just let my plants do whatever they want. And if I get some chilies at the end of it, awesome. But I mean, investing a little bit more into it, I'm going to want some bigger yields, and we'll see how things go. So with topping, I'm going to do this first plant now. I've got some little shears. I'm sure you could just use your thumbnail, but can you get in there, Shari? Can you see?
Yes.
So you can see these little buds starting to form. I don't want any of that, so I'm just going to go snip. Might seem barbaric, but now you can see that that little branch that was coming off here is gone, and this little branch is still at the topmost of the plant, so I'll snip that out. Now these were side shoots here, so hopefully instead of growing up now, it's going to grow out. So I'll continue to do that. This one's a Jimmy Nardello. So hopefully that'll puff out now over the next couple of weeks, and I'll keep you updated to see how it goes. So as I said, I'm not a guru on this. I'm figuring it out as I go. So you can see this one's actually starting to get some branches down the bottom here. So I might not need to top that. We'll let it go for a little bit longer and see if it wants to put more energy into throwing out some branches, or if it wants to just keep growing up. I can address that a bit later. Here's another Jimmy Nardello. Looks like they're a little bit prone for going tall. I'll just top him as well. You can see it's wanting to bud up. So, can you see that? That's the main shoot coming there. Can you see, Shari?
Yep.
And I'll just take that off. The buds are gone. The top of the plant's gone, so it's topped. We'll see how it goes. Must say, this is the God Stopper. I didn't want to like my God Stoppers. I didn't want to like them. Speaking to Vulcan on the phone, he suggested I try this because I wanted the heat that's right up there with the Reapers, but I hated the flavour of the Reaper. I put a Reaper through a plate of spag bog, and it tasted foul. It was really bitter. It wasn't very appetising, but that Reaper through my meal made it explosively hot, and I actually really enjoyed that. And so I got in touch with him and I said, what can I try that's going to taste better but has a good heat level for when I want to do something silly like that? And he suggested God Stopper. But I didn't really want to like the God Stopper because it's just another thing that's out there for heat rather than focusing on some other qualities, I thought. I could be totally wrong. This is the first time I'm growing it. But it is turning out to be quite an attractive plant, so I'm actually really enjoying growing this one so far. This one here has purple veins, whereas this here is another one, and most of them didn't have purple veins, just like that. So I've kept both. We'll see what happens. If you've grown God Stoppers before, let me know what you thought. They're my favourites at the moment, just because it's turning out to be quite a good looking plant. This one here is a mystery, and it's doing really well. You can see that it's throwing all these branches here, so we'll see what it turns into. But it's also wanting to bud. Can you see?
Yep.
So I'm going to snip those buds out, and hopefully it won't continue wanting to
Lucifer.
flower. This time I'm not topping the plant. I don't think it needs it. I'm just taking out those little flower buds.
Lucifer. Oi. Come here, come
Wow,
here.
that's fiddly. Okay, I've destroyed all those little flower buds now. We'll see what happens. Another Jimmy Nardello. It needs to be done as well. I'll do that off camera. Yeah, so I started out with 3 seeds per little plastic cup. I did that in a seed raising mix, so it doesn't have any fertilizer in there. It was just to get them started. I was originally going to stick to soil. That's a Jay's Peach Ghost Scorpion. Plenty of holes for drainage now that I'm feeding these guys regularly with the hydroponic nutrients, so it can drain out, doesn't over water them. So these guys here will be potted up into bigger pots very soon. They're certainly ready for it, and we'll see how we go. So that's kind of where I'm at. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask. We'll see how we go. Make sure you say thanks to Shari for holding the camera for us. Alright guys, see ya.